it is quite clear that social media sites is where many people, if not most people, get their news from these days. There have been various reports and studies saying that there is a steady decline in what is known as legacy media, whether it be physical newspapers, whether it be people watching TV news broadcasts, listening to radio reports, or whether even reading on a traditional news website. Many people get their news via social media sites. So, how news reports are verified, how they're curated, where it comes up in your algorithm is very important. There's been a steady move. I wouldn't say it's an avalanche as yet, but there's been a steady move over the last while of people leaving the website formerly known as Twitter, moving to other uh, shared social media sites. I'm joined now on the line by the Chief Operating Officer of Bluesky. They've seen a tremendous growth over the last while. It started out as a invite only prototype, now 15 million users. I'm joined now by Rose Wang, who's the Chief Operating Officer of Bluesky. Good morning, Rose. Really appreciate your time, not this morning, but Tuesday night where you are in California. Just talk to me, what would make Bluesky different from any other existing social media sites? And Twitter's not the only platform. One could argue that WhatsApp is a social media platform because how you can curate channels and information that comes to you, how you share. Obviously, the meta platforms. What makes Bluesky different?
Well, hello, Cape Town from San Francisco. I'm really excited to tell you about Bluesky. And, I think we get this question all the time. How are we different? And I think it really comes down to you get to interact with real people, make internet friends again, and have fun conversations again. And why is that happening on Bluesky and not on these other platforms? It's because we're used to being trapped in one algorithm that's controlled by a small group of people. And with Bluesky, that's no longer the case. Users have built over 50,000 feeds, including, I think, like 5 cat feeds and more than 200 feeds about Taylor Swift, and various other feeds organized chronologically or based on what your followers are liking. And the possibilities are endless. Here, we aren't deciding who to promote and who not to promote. There's always going to be bias if the decision is made by a small group of people. By having this choice go to users where users can make feeds, that provides a cozier corner to connect with other people with similar interests because there's no longer a single dominant algorithm that either promotes the most polarizing posts and or the biggest brands.
Um, Social media is the modern day town square. It's where people gather to have conversations and to debate. But any group, whether it be in person, whether it's my hockey group or my book club, or
Yeah.
whether it be my curated group of social media friends, people living in my phone, could all fall into a trap of being in an echo chamber. A sense of groupthink then sets in. What makes them Bluesky different in terms of creating echo chambers where we have conversations? And that has been often the critique of social media because you curate who you want to talk to, who you want to engage with, and the to and fro of that ultimately leads to some form of echo chamber, Rose.
That's a great question. And, for Bluesky, the goal isn't to create echo chambers. And I think that's always the fear when people talk about communities is, oh, it means that we're going to get further and further into our own views. But actually, what we see is something quite different that's happening on Bluesky. And it models a lot of what happens in the offline world where we meet people in real life, which is actually, we are more open to new ideas when we get to know the people behind those ideas and get to know them as real human beings rather than some sort of talking head with a profile picture and a brief bio about them. And so what we're seeing is that there's much more engagement and chattering happening on Blue Sky. In fact, there's 30% of the users on Blue Sky post as opposed to like the 1% on Twitter. And so when you're having so many conversations, people are actually discovering new interests, new ideas. And it's about having a norm and a culture that celebrates more thoughtful dialogue. And then anything that's close to rude or hate speech, there are different levels of moderation levers that you can pull on Blue
Mm,
Sky that you cannot pull on other platforms that then helps create an even more
mm.
safe space to talk.
Rose, I'm not a devout disciple of what's known as dead internet theory, but I question whether the people who respond to my posts are in fact real people, whether they're bots, and whether these are automated responses. I have enough adult material that gets sent to me or crypto advice that gets sent to me in my replies for me to no longer engage with conversations. If I do not know you, if I do not know your bona fides, if you have a weird username and a avatar as a picture, I'm not going to engage because I don't know if you're real or not. Where is your verification process on whether people are engaging with are in fact living, breathing human beings, regardless of what their opinions are?
Yeah, we're so used to a check mark as a verification system, which is binary, right? It's do you have status or not? And that status is decided again by a small group of people. And the way that we deal with verification on Blue Sky is a lot more nuanced. First of all, if there's an impersonator, we label that count as impersonation. Then on top of that, what we offer is custom domains. And I think for a lot of people, they're like, what does that mean? Well, the New York Times is at newyorktimes.com. If you know that only the New York Times can own that domain because they have that DNS record, they're the only ones who can use that handle. And so that's one way of verifying your identity outside of relying on a central group of people to decide. Then imagine a world in the future where then that website or that domain opens up in the app. Then you can showcase for you can put all your podcasts on there. That gives way more context on who you are than just a profile picture and a bio. And so we're trying to build in tools and features that basically give people a lot more context and nuance on who the different users are. And then on top of that, what we've done is we've given a lot of moderation tooling to users, and you don't have to just rely on us. And so if there are spam bots, you as a user can go and label accounts and posts as spam, and then other users can subscribe. And so that way it's a community-driven approach to keeping the whole space safe rather than just relying on us.
Look, I can attest to the fact that I have seen an increase in unmoderated, right, or should I say, radical leaning posts on my website, formerly known as Twitter feed. It's people that I wouldn't usually, and opinions, radical opinions that I won't generally agree with or engage with. But people are drawing a contrast to Elon Musk's X and Blue Sky, saying the one is for MAGA right and the other one is for woke left. I'm sure that's not what you're trying to brand yourself as some sort of left alternative to Twitter, but it already seems that they have in already polarized. Well, they are now polarizing opinions on which social media platform is which, Rose.
I think that that's maybe the narrative that people like to tell, but if you actually come to Blue Sky, that you'll see that there's actually lots of people across diverse communities, and right and left is assuming in the US that there's only one kind of right or left. We have communities in Japan, in Brazil, in Korea, in Indonesia, in the UK. And so Blue Sky is so much more than the partisan platform or the narrative that other people are putting out there. What we are is the whole idea is this is a system that's truly a free market approach. Rather than having governments control platforms and saying this is what's possible in this country and not this country, in this state and not this state, what we're seeing and more is governments controlling speech. And Blue Sky is the true free market approach, which is anything that we build, whether that's a feed or even Blue Sky app itself, any other user or developer can build, because you as a user can leave. It's called the freedom of exit. So you can take your followers, you can take your posts with you if you don't like the service we're providing. And that truly is a true free market approach to users choosing what actually serves them.
It's a fascinating space and it's a fascinating time, all built into trust in institutions, whether it be social media, whether it be traditional legacy media, whether it be in states, institutions of state. I really appreciate your time. Rose Wang, Chief Operating Officer of Blue Sky out in San Francisco in California. Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night.